welcome to Coffee with Joy. I'm your favorite host, Joy. As we celebrate the last day or day before of Black History, of course, your girl is all in charcoal black. Just to give it that hint of celebration, of course, it's been a 28 plus leap year. Great month thus far. So let's jump right into what we have planned today. As you all know, so many people are running their own business as far as branding, marketing, and trying to work with certain agencies. And of course, as many people are reading certain things, they want to, change their vocabulary. Well, here's some words that you may want to use as you start to even write certain caption or even paragraphs, or if you decide that you want to uplift the work that you're doing. Check this out.
5 words to never say in marketing. Don't say expensive, say premium. Don't say cheap, say affordable. Don't say discount, say limited time offer. Don't say buy, say upgrade. Don't say try, say explore. Don't say bro, use their name.
Simple, right? There's just a few, but you can surely check that page out. Don't say a lot, say plethora, right? But no here, no there. So, of course, now, many times that we want to look for testimonial. Check this lady out as she has taken a course and is it taking her from an Uber driver as to making some true cash. Check this testimonial out.
This gets me so emotional. You guys always talk about, that's great that you've made $1.4 million with digital marketing, but what about your students? What about other people that have taken this course? And this person in particular really hits home for me. Last year, Nancy was driving Uber and she was also doing Uber Eats to keep the light bill at her house on. She started digital marketing and she decided that she wanted to do it faceless. She didn't want to show her face. She was going to create a brand new Instagram account from scratch. She started that account 26 days ago. Here's where it starts getting crazy. In 26 days, she grew her brand new account to 10,000 followers and has made close to $93,000 in 26 days without having to show her face, without talking on camera. This is why I say that this business model really works. And all she did was take the same exact course that I took. She didn't try to reinvent the wheel. She became a student. She learned these high income skills and she became consistent, what most people aren't, in 26 days.
So as you can see, sometimes taking the course or just changing a little is truly bringing your true revenue. So, but I'm so great to have my guest Kent in the studio. Yes, as we talk about branding. Of course, he's going to give us some tidbits. He's a wealth of knowledge into this industry. He runs his own business, so I'm so great to have him. Hey, Kent, how are you? So we're going to talk about branding. Please make sure that you subscribe, like, and follow. Leave your comments so that we all can see, and hopefully you can reach out to Kent for further information. So after these messages, we're going to talk to my guy, Kent. Talk to you all soon.
Our mission focuses on showcasing local and global talent of all ages on and off the field. We will strive to inspire, educate, and bridge the divides through our media collaboration. Our goal is to give student athletes and coaches the platform to let their talents be seen and a platform for the community to let their voices be heard. This is the Union Media Group.
Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. I'm your favorite host, Joy. I'm so excited to have Ken in the building. Hey, Ken, how are you?
I am excellent, Joy. How are you?
Good, good. So glad to have you here. So let's jump right in. If you could tell people just a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get right into our discussion.
Sure. My name is Kent King. I am, I guess you could say, the content chemist because I have the formula that it takes to actually make content work for you. I specialize in teaching people how to build brands via social media, utilizing these platforms more than they use you so that you can get to the bag and beyond.
Wow, that is such a wealth of knowledge. Now, what made you get into wanting to share this information with people about branding?
Really, the pandemic is what sped it up. I've always been passionate about building brands and doing marketing. That's something that I kind of adopted from my DJ career earlier on in life. I was a DJ. I have been around the world DJing, and I
Hmm,
built my own brand and name as a DJ.
okay.
I got to the point where I was on the radio, right? Hot 97, the
Mhm.
mecca of hip hop. And then I
Yes.
realized that it was kind of a glass ceiling, right? Like that was kind
Mm,
of the pivotal moment. And I decided that it wasn't just about me. It'd be a lot easier
okay.
for me to start doing other things for other people. So I pivoted that into branding for restaurants, nightclubs, bars, things of that nature. And then fast forward when the pandemic happened, I saw that there was a void in the space
Mm,
as far as knowledge was concerned. There's a lot of people who want to build their own businesses, but don't
okay.
necessarily have the tools, the skill set to really flourish in that industry. And so it's not just about having your LLC. It's about
Right.
building a brand, knowing marketing, and putting whatever it is that you love to do, your solution, out there into the world to be well received. And the pandemic just really elevated my ability to have a platform and a voice to teach that to people.
Oh, wow. So you kind of answered it, but still just want to ask, what is branding? Because I think a lot of people get branding, marketing, PR all intertwined like this big Play-Doh, and really they serve its purpose. So if you could break down what is branding a little more for an individual to know, okay, how do I brand? What is it? Even though we could research it, but from an expert like yourself, what is branding?
Well, the idea of a personal brand came about, I believe it was 1991. So it's still a fairly new topic, right? Of having a personal
Okay.
brand. A business brand is something that's been around for years, but having a personal brand is something that's fairly new. And basically, what it is the conversation that people are having about you when you're not in the room. And the same thing is said for your business, right? What are people saying about your business when you're not in the room to tell people about it? And we all know that word of mouth is the best form of marketing and
Right.
advertising, right? So having a brand allows you to control what that word of mouth actually is. What is it that people are saying? Because I always use the analogy that, like, if Little Bow Wow said that he's dropping an album today, right?
Right.
Some people would go listen, but most people probably wouldn't care because he hasn't been hot for a while. But if
Okay.
your best friend came in the room and said, "Hey, I just got done bumping this album by Little Bow Wow. You need to hear it. It's amazing." You're a lot more likely to go listen to it because someone who you trust has already said something about it, right? And so that then becomes a part of the brand story, is about what is it that
Mhm.
people are saying about you or your product that makes other people want to be a part of your ecosystem.
Wow, that's great. Now, what is in the branding? Because you stated that it's more than just the LLC, right? Because some people, like for myself, let's just use me, okay? Like with Coffee with Joy, I try to brand everything. When I think of branding, it's almost like the cow, the cowboy, or if I'm correct, they taking a little
Mhm.
iron and stamping, branding their cows, right? So they branding
Right.
it constantly everywhere. So I tried to make sure that even like on my page or now on my website, just trying to make sure that it's consistent. So when people see, they see this girl holding up a mug, she's in this purple
Mhm.
outfit with these glasses, those are the type of things that I'm thinking that I am constantly, trying to brand, trying to stamp. So if you can elaborate a little more, even just to use me, for example, I don't mind. Butcher me. It's okay.
No, 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 no butchering at all. You're doing a great job because a lot of what is synonymous with branding is what you're speaking about, right? Is the brand image, is the logo, is a color palette. But a lot of things that people kind of forget and miss out on is your brand voice, right? What is your
Mm,
brand actually saying? And then how does it actually communicate with your audience? So there's image, there's your voice, there's your tone. There's a lot of different elements that go into branding that are kind
mhm.
of sit in the background, right? But they are conscious for you. They may not be, there's two elements. So there's customer focus and then there's company focused, right? Certain things
Okay.
that you do that you're speaking about are customer focused. What does my logo look like? What does the image look like? What is it that people are actually seeing and receiving? But then the company focused aspect is what is my mission statement? Right? What is it that overall that I'm trying to do and to communicate to help make my community more affluent, right? Or have growth in whatever area in ways that I can best deliver that. And so again, it's tone, it's your voice, it is your messaging, it is also your position, right? Where do you sit in the marketplace in comparison to everyone else? Right? These
Mm.
are all things that you need to take into consideration in order to have a well-rounded brand.
Wow. Now, what if someone were to come in? They don't have an idea, but they know that, hey, I want to start this business in cupcake. Okay. And we know there's a plethora of people, entrepreneurs, a plethora of bakers, and they really can't find their way in this niche, but they really love what they're doing. They really putting forth the effort, but they just don't have an idea. And someone come to you, how would you help them? Someone that's just new and probably the only thing they have is just a name, right? But how would you help them dig their way through on that lower level in order to find or even break through with a brand? How would you help them?
So it starts with questions, right? And I think that that's a phenomenal example that you brought up when it comes to being a baker, right? Because let's just take it as far as what it is that you could be making as a baker, right? If
Mm,
you're making regular cakes that are just small, like miniature bundt cakes, right? Those are for people who are probably going to be eating them after dinner, right? Or a
yeah.
midday snack. But if you make cupcakes, those might be something that's more sold in the morning time, like a
Mm,
Starbucks or something like that. So once you actually dig in and decide who it is that you're going to serve, who your target audience is, that ends up giving you a lot more guidance as to what it is that you're going to be doing and how your brand is going to communicate with them. So for me,
mm,
what I do is I start with questions, right? What are you
right.
obsessed with, right? What do you like? Who do you like to serve? Who's your target audience? Who is it that's
Mm,
already been consuming your things? When do they consume it? How do they consume it? These are all the questions that we then ask that then helps for us to understand where your brand could sit, how it could be framed. And then
right.
we bring in the market research where we say,
Mm,
okay, we figured out the majority of the people who like your stuff are this type of person. Now let's go and figure out what are their habits, right? That we can then add some pattern interrupts to say, hey, every time you think about coffee, right, you
mm,
should think about me because I have the cupcake for you. And so
right.
maybe they need to be advertising on your show, right? Hey,
Yeah.
let's go and make an ad for Coffee with Joy because we make the perfect cupcake that goes along with coffee, right? So it's
Right.
really about digging in and asking all of the best fact finding questions, getting that information and data, and then doing the market research to understand where the overlaps are in the Venn
Mm,
diagram.
mm. So when you say market research, is the individual looking to see where do they find themselves within a demographic as well as revenue? How are they able to place themselves so that they're not clashing with other competitors? So what do you mean by market research?
So somewhat, it's less
Mhm.
about whether or not you're clashing with other competitors and more
Okay.
about utilizing what we know works, right, from
Okay.
other competitors and then putting
Mhm.
our own twist and spin on it. This way we don't lose a lot of money trying to market to the wrong people when we already know that somebody's made that mistake. So the market research is there to find out what people have done before so that we can make sure that we avoid making some of the same mistakes, and so that we can borrow from their success stories and make things a little bit easier on our path to what's called market penetration, right? How do we break through in the market to be able to speak to our desired target audience? Does that make sense?
No, it makes lots of sense. Makes lots of sense
Okay.
because I'm glad to have you on. So again, thank you so much, Kent, because now that we're in this content world, and I think everyone, like I stated before, they just pile everything together, which I'm a firm believer. Just start. When you start, God would, definitely decipher what needs to come. But some people don't go beyond that. They stay right there at the lower level. They don't seek help. They don't go and say, okay, let me put this thing in a subdivision so I can know, okay, this is where I need to work on. I need to work on my media. I need to work on here and so forth, wherever that looks like for an individual. So to break that down, people need to understand, if you truly invested into your business, you need to really take heed of the market research as well as the branding. So I think I know that it's truly work because you're teaching me. So I am so grateful for that. So thank you. So after these messages, we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Kent, as he talks about call for action, as it should not, it should be call for benefits. As your wording is very important. So we're going to listen to a quick video after these messages as we talk to Kent. Latest news, today's news, current news, gossip news, you name it. I am your host with Coffee with Joy as I share any up-to-date news that's taking place around the world. But if you would like to check it out, please make sure you go to my YouTube channel, Coffee with Joy, where I share the latest topic. I am your host with Coffee with Joy with today's topic. Welcome back. So now we're going to watch a quick clip and then we're going to bring my guest Kent back into the studio.
Calls to actions are dead. Do not post anything else with a call to action in it. Instead, create a call to benefit. Instead of saying buy now, say solve your problem now. Instead of saying purchase here, say the solution to what you're looking for is here. Call them to the benefit that they are going to get from making this purchase and transaction. Don't just say buy now. The reason is because everything has a buy now button on it. We can now pay for Instagram. Everything has a buy now button on. I don't want to see another buy now. And so in order for you to not have my brain turn off from me just saying buy now, tell me what the benefit is that I'm going to get.
Now, you had me there. I was intrigued. Like, words are so important and how it plays with the mind, So break it down here. Because again, people are still saying call to action and not knowing that call to benefits. If you could break it down just a little more, even though you did a great job in the video, so people can hear what is the difference.
So first of all, thank you for playing that, because it's always beneficial for me to be able to watch myself. It's like game tape, right? It's like what athletes must feel like. And so I realized how passionate I was in that moment. And so there's a lot that can get lost in translation. And so first off, right, calls to actions are not dead, right? That was for dramatic effect because I was on live and I was speaking to the audience and I wanted them to understand it. And so, yes, a call to action is still very relevant. However, right now, there's just so many opportunities for a consumer to buy that we typically will kind of fade out whenever we see anything that just says buy this or do that. Like, there's really no invitation to transformation. And that's going to be, right, the more effective option is telling people what they're going to receive, what the transformation is that they're going to have from engaging in your content, buying your solution, or hiring you for whatever it is that you serve. So it's really about displaying the transformation that people are going to have. It's easier for me to say call to benefit, right? Because you're speaking about the benefit of getting whatever this thing is that you're selling in a digital form. But it's technically, it's about the transformation. How are you going to change my current state and situation to be something that I actually desire once I exchange this monetary value with that? That's really what it's about. And you're going to have a much greater effect in conversion if you do that, as opposed to just having the singular button on there that says buy now, because there's just too much to buy. You can pay for
Yeah.
everything now.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what would be a tidbit on someone who probably cannot convey that message, right? They hear you, they really want to transfer that information. So how what is it that they need to do in order to succeed in that communication and making sure
Well,
that they don't, fall into the trap of buy now?
Well, there's a lot of different tools right now that you can utilize as far as technology is concerned, right? We have AI. We live in a world of AI, so nothing is
Yeah.
impossible now. Where you can go on ChatGPT and say, "Hey, give
Yeah.
me change this call to action to a call to benefit," right? That's probably the easiest way. Secondly,
Yeah.
you can read books on copywriting, and that
Mm,
will give you an understanding as to how best to communicate with people through a digital landscape. It's a lot easier for me to convince you to do something or persuade you to do something when we're in person, right? Face to face.
right.
You can feel my energy. You can tell that I'm not a charlatan or a scam artist, right? But
Right.
digitally, it's a little bit more difficult. And so you have to learn how to penetrate that barrier of
Yeah.
reception for human beings. And so copywriting is one of the main skill sets that you can learn that will actually give you the tools to understand what best resonates to your current audience, right? What best
Mhm.
speaks to them to cause them to take action.
Mm.
Perfect
Wow.
example is right, you're in DC, right? So
Mhm.
if I'm selling footwear, right, you guys might call it gym shoes or tennis sneakers, right?
Right.
And so that's a totally different verbiage if I'm speaking to people who are in that area, right? But
Right.
for me, I'm from New York. We just call them sneakers, right? In New
Right.
Jersey, up north, we just call them just regular sneakers, not tennis
Okay.
shoes or anything like that. But again, understanding who you're speaking to will
Yeah,
help you to
yeah,
contextualize what's best to say once you understand copywriting. Or, like I said, if
mhm,
you just use a cheat sheet and go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, turn
yeah,
this into something," right? Those are probably the easiest two ways for you to achieve that goal.
right, and the reason why I ask that because a lot of people, they get stuck and not knowing
Hmm.
how simple it is, right? Just for example, when people editing videos, they
Hmm.
like, "Oh, wow, how do you edit?" Not knowing there are apps that all you have to do is plug in and they do the work for you. So it's
Hmm.
really now, like you say, we're in this AI community, so it's really and it's only going to get worse because it's going to be hard. Like I remember saying when I was younger, seeing is believing. Now I can't even say that because I could stand right here and put myself in Dubai. What you're going to tell
Yep.
me? I wasn't there,
Yep.
even though I know I went
Yep.
to work this morning. But it's so hard where we're in this digital state where we're able to really place our information, just front load and just look for the right apps to really help us out. But believe it or not, some people still have that, still doesn't have the help or the understanding how to convey their business across or really trying to penetrate. But it's something that you and I was talking about earlier, where it's consistency. Right.
Hmm.
If you're in the road of consistency, you're able to really decipher and really help yourself out. Okay, what do I need to go there? Now, in your line of work, as you're an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, you own your own business, what has been the ups and downs or the struggles that you see with people who come to you and say, hey, or they don't follow through? What has been like your ups and downs in that arena?
Um, I would say probably comprehension of value. I think that a
Mm,
lot of people don't quite comprehend the value of having either a personal brand, or B, what it takes to transform your business into a brand. And
mhm,
so, it's up to me to try to convey that value to them, but it's a long road. And I think that what people really miss is they want the quick fix, right? They
yeah,
want the shortcut. They want the easiest route. And
yeah,
what they're not understanding is that does not birth longevity, right? I can't
yeah,
tell you how many people have come to me with clothing brands, and I ask them, okay, I start asking some questions. Who do you like? Who do you want to be? What is, in your realm or arena? And they're like, we want to be the Louis Vuitton of, this word. And I'm like, all right, that's cool, but you do understand that Louis Vuitton has been around since like 1914, right? Like this brand is extremely old, and they've been delivering on their promise for that long. That's one of
Right.
the things that has made them, like we said, consistency. They have been consistent with their stuff, so much so that their old stuff is now worth more money, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they're able to be called a luxury brand or a premium house.
Mm.
And I think that people often see other people do things, and because everybody's on Instagram showing, like you said, I'm in Dubai, I just bought a yacht, look at my watch, all of these things, right? I'm amazing. And they're just thinking, well, I'm amazing, I should be able to
Yeah.
have that, right? They
Right.
all want the results from the work that they didn't put in. And then when it
Yeah.
comes time to put the work in, they don't always want to show up. They don't want to stick to the game plan, right? I saw a meme the other day that said,
Mhm.
I'm in marketing, and whenever I see one of my clients post something that wasn't on our agenda, I like to scream and pull my hair out. And it's the truth, because it's like, wait a minute, that's a cute post that you made, but that's not
Right.
a part of the mission statement.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
speaking to the brand. That is not telling your audience exactly what you want them to know. It's not even adjacent to what we're doing. And so
Yeah.
I kind of just gave you a lot of like what I deal with on a day to day.
Oh
It was like
no, that's
a quick
perfect because
venting session.
oh no, you're perfect. No, that's truly perfect because people need to understand that you're not going to walk into the door and it's going to be a quick fix. Oh, I have this book here where I could go through, section 8, volume 2 and say, "Oh, here's your issue." No, it takes time. And it's something that you stated where I think a lot of people look at people and they try to piggyback and say, "Hey, if they can do it, I can do it." Or
Hmm.
if they hear I can do that, not knowing they created their work accordingly so they could match the aesthetics, it can match their branding, so it could intrigue and bring the consumers on, right? They've taken time. That's how they got you on there, to change your mind to do what you need to do. But as someone who deals with people who want to increase their branding or go into other areas of marketing, they need to understand that it takes time, but that time is consistency. And
Yep.
just like I was listening to this mean, and it was like, and it says confidence is not having like a high self-esteem, is confidence where you're not allowing people to live rent free within you, and
Mm.
and I was just like, blown, like, and I was like, and I just had to give myself a thousand claps, because I don't allow myself, because I'm on my time and I
Mm.
work accordingly, right? I put everything, I pace everything out. I even have people's like, wow, you, like, even now when they see the podcast, the video podcast, it's like, oh my goodness, you're there. Yeah. But
Hmm.
I spoke it into an existence. I did the research. I asked people, because again, I know people are charging. So what's another avenue? But of course, once asked, and being in the nation's capital, and if you're a DC resident, they just give about everything free. All you got to do is know the right people. So at our certain library, it's a free podcast area. Utilize it, until you can get yourself
Mm.
on your feet to understand. But I say all that to say is that not allowing nothing to defeat, staying consistent, making sure that the brand is
Hmm.
penetrate, and really trying to
Hmm.
find ways on how for my craft to get better, and just be an example that,
Definitely.
yeah, you're going to come against roadblocks. You're not going to understand everything right now, but you can't give up on you. If nothing else, you believe in you. So continue this fight, and don't look left or right just because you see someone chapter 18 and you still on the preface. Just know that, hey, at
Correct.
least you got somewhere. So it's really just to hear from an expert who, when people come to you, they just want this quick fix, not knowing that it takes
Yes.
time. It takes time to really build a brand. I mean,
Yes.
changing of the logo, changing of the name. Because at one point, my name was Joy Talks. And I remember talking to my
Got
friend
you.
Tiffany. She was like, that's not what you want to say. Keep in mind, this was like before the pandemic, okay? I was in the
Hmm.
pandemic. I was traveling a whole lot. Don't ask me why. I think I was in the air more in 2020 and 21 than like literally. So I'm exercising. She was like, you say you want to be coffee with joy. And I said, oh, you're right. So that's why I 21, well, 22,
Hmm.
that Christmas, revamped, and that's why it became Coffee with Joy. Had to get the logo, making sure the colors. But it took time. And so while I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with you right now, and of course my team, Tony and Denise, thank you all. I'm just like, yes, I can look back and say, look, you didn't give up. You said in the faith and the fight and continue to keep working.
And I'm great. I get to meet Brother Ken because this branding information is so great. Of course, we're going to talk more offline because I would like to know more. Of course. Oh my goodness. This is so great. So don't want to hold you too long, Ken. Thank you so much. Now, is there any quote or affirmation that keeps you going? Because I know you're a wealth of knowledge. I know you constantly spewing out information, and people's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And it's like a trainer, work out, and they're going home
Right.
to have a whole hamburger out, working out, going against what you just said. So, what keeps Kent going?
So I think my personal mantra, one of my personal mantras is gratitude is a superpower, right? Gratitude is my superpower because whenever the road gets rough, right, you always have to
Mhm.
remember that these are the moments that you prayed for. This is the life
Yeah,
that you designed. And so,
yeah,
you don't ever let your dream become a nightmare because you're facing a day of difficulty. So keep gratitude close. And then my most famous quote is to the bag and beyond, right? Because everybody wants to
yeah,
get to the bag, but you have to ask yourself, okay, once you get there, what is it that you're going to do? Because that's your North Star, right? You can't always focus on just the money. You have to focus on what's beyond that because that's
yeah,
how you continue to deliver. Because you'll get there, you'll get to whatever accolades you want. But then that glass ceiling comes in and you're like, all right, well, I got the thing. I've got the car,
yeah.
the house, the plane, the whatever. But now what's going to keep pushing you forward? And so I always say to the bag and beyond.
To the bag and beyond. Yes, I just saw this whole Toy Story in my head. Yes, to the bag
Yep.
and beyond. Kid,
Yep.
thank you so much. Keep
Thank
in
you. It's my
mind,
pleasure.
please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. We're on all across social media. Please make sure that you leave a comment. Let us know what your thoughts is. So if you like to patronize Coffee with Joy, please do follow the Q codes that are on our screen. And if not, they're located within on our social media as well as our website as well. So coming up next week, we have our girl Aquani as we talk about money, where the money resides. Of course, everybody would like to know where the money is. But as you all know, if it's a weekday or a weekend, it is Coffee with Joy. Live life on purpose and see you all soon.
We kick it like no